Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes, 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One child was murdered and 4 other people were wounded in a mass shooting that took place in a high school in Perry, Iowa.
Last night held for those impacted after the deadly shooting in Iowa at Perry High School. A 17-year-old opened fire at a small-town Iowa high school there, killing a 6th grader and wounding 5 others. The students barricaded in offices, ducked into classrooms, and fleeing in panic. Now authorities are working to pin down a motive. ABC's Rena Roy shares how the community is coming together after yesterday's quick turn of events.
Hundreds gathering in Perry, Iowa at a candlelight prayer vigil after a deadly shooting at Perry High School Thursday. 14-year-old freshman Angie Orellana ran for her life when the gunman opened fire in the cafeteria.
If school isn't safe, where are we supposed to go besides our homes? Where are we supposed to get a good education?
Shots ringing out just after 7:30 a.m. on the first day back from winter break.
We're going to need multiple ambulances. Multiple victims down.
Classes hadn't started for the day, but some students and faculty were already at school.
We heard 4 gunshots, and we all jumped and we all looked at each other, didn't know what to do.
The suspect, 17-year-old student Dylan Butler, seen here, posted this TikTok from what looks like a school bathroom with a blue duffel bag next to him and the words, "Now we wait." 9th grader Anthony Ubaldo says he was inside that same bathroom.
I heard someone moving around, and I looked through the little crack in the stall. He looked at me through the crack. He opened his duffel bag and hooked it up. My body just told me, you're not supposed to be here, leave. It's just traumatizing because honestly, he could have just killed me then and there and I wouldn't be here right now.
Moments later, authorities say the suspect shot and killed a 6th grader who was at the school for a breakfast program, then shot 4 more students, and the principal, Dan Marburger, before taking his own life. Jody Kurth says her stepson was hit in the back and the arm and rushed to the school after getting a text from her daughter.
It was absolutely horrifying. That's one of the worst moments of my entire life, but the best phone call I got was saying that they were okay.
Officials tell us the 5 other victims are recovering in the hospital, 1 in critical condition. The others are stable. Police now looking into a number of social media posts the suspect made around the time of the shooting to try and pin down a motive. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
And these pictures just coming in from the family of Perry High School's principal, who was one of the victims shot, now recovering. His family told us he was trying to talk to the shooter, talking him down so several students could escape the cafeteria.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place on the first day of school after winter recess, it is alleged that 17-year-old Dylan Butler came back to Perry High School with a plan to participate in a mass shooting. Now, Dylan Butler allegedly went into the bathroom in the early morning as other students were having their breakfast, and at that time he posted on social media a plan to participate in this mass shooting before entering into the cafeteria with a pistol and a shotgun, and went into that cafeteria and allegedly wound up murdering an 11-year-old boy who he shot 3 times, and then allegedly wounded 4 other people, including the principal. And after participating in this mass shooting that was in an nearly empty cafeteria, because this was 7 o'clock in the morning and most of the students hadn't arrived, Dylan Butler allegedly went into that same bathroom that he planned his mass shooting with a duffel bag filled with weapons, and allegedly wound up taking his life. Now, the people in the town that is near Des Moines, Iowa, are seeing this as an isolated incident, which they believe that they don't really see a motive for this mass shooting. However, when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior Dylan Butler allegedly participated in, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, according to reports, they say that Dylan Butler was a quiet kid who had been bullied ever since elementary school, and I believe that is the foundation for what led up to the motive for murder, that Dylan Butler wound up having the reason to participate in this crime. Now, when it comes to a lot of beta males, oftentimes these are males who are not really having a good understanding of how to socialize, and because these males don't know how to socialize due to the dysfunctional way that they are raised in either single mother households or households with a beta male father who himself is socially awkward, these males have a hard time being able to navigate social environments such as school. And because these individuals have a hard time being able to navigate social environments like school, oftentimes these males have a hard time being able to function in those environments because they don't understand how to have agency for themselves or to assert their own personal power. And oftentimes, these males don't know how to do this because they have not been taught interpersonal skills due to either a dysfunctional mother or a dysfunctional father, or the fact that the family is not there to model this behavior for them, and they're not able to there show him an example of how to be able to function in social environments like school. And because Dylan Butler, I believe, didn't know how to navigate social environments like school, this made it where he appeared to be weaker to the other students and made him a target for bullying. And because he was a target for bullying, and because he didn't understand how to be able to take his own personal power or be able to take agency over himself, what happened to Dylan Butler as he was being bullied is this laid the foundation for him being in this position of feeling powerless, and that powerlessness led to him simmering and boiling in anger because he didn't have the natural male life skills or male survival skills to be able to take power over himself. And because he could not be able to take power over himself, what happened to Dylan Butler is he didn't understand how to set boundaries with people or be able to understand how to assert himself to let people know where the line is. And because he didn't know how to do this, this led to him not being able to understand how to problem solve or conflict resolve. And because he didn't know how to conflict resolve or problem solve, what happened to Dylan Butler over the years from elementary school to the high school that he was going to was he was simmering and boiling in frustration because he didn't know how to stop the bullying. And because he didn't know how to stop the bullying, what happened with him is that he first started to shut down socially, because that's how kids become quiet. And when these children become quiet, what happens is as they're becoming quiet, they are sitting there becoming extremely frustrated. And as they're becoming frustrated about their feelings of powerlessness, what happens is they wind up seething in anger as they are sitting there privately, and they eventually wind up exploding in a rage where they participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors that they have imagined as related to the people who they believe are taking away their own personal power. And that's basically what was shown to me with Dylan Butler's alleged behavior, with his fascination with serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and horror movies like the Leatherface movies, and his fascination with the Columbine killers. He began to see these individuals as having the power he always wanted, and because he saw those individuals as having the power he always wanted, he believed that these individuals would be models for the kind of manhood that he believed would allow him to have power. And this was the kind of thing he was participating in, with the fascination with these serial killers and mass shooters, in a place I call the secret world, because oftentimes, because beta males feel powerless in the real world, what they do is go to a place I call the secret world to have these fascinations with these individuals, because these individuals have the power they covet, and because they have the power that they covet, what they do is idolize these individuals secretly while sitting there silently planning their fascination and their fantasies as related to hurting the people who have taken away their power. Now, with Dylan Butler, again, I believe what happened with him is he was sitting there seething and feeling powerless, and as he was sitting there feeling powerless, he basically was triggered into feeling more hopeless, because as he was going through high school, he started to see his sister going through the same kind of bullying. And as he saw his sister going through the same kind of bullying, this is where I believe he possibly wanted to protect his sister by participating, having a motive for participating in this violence, and basically thought, oh, since my sister is going through the same thing, then this is my way of taking power for both of us, because with beta males, what they do is hide behind a lot of women, and girls, they hide behind them as a motive for taking the power through violence, because these men, again, do not understand that the way you deal with bullies is to stand up for yourself. And when I look at the pattern of Dylan Butler and his sister, it basically shows me something really troubling as related to the American family, because it's clear to me that Dylan Butler and his sister basically weren't raised to understand how to function in the world as either a boy or a girl. However, Dylan Butler basically didn't understand how to function as a boy, and he had no man in his life to teach him how to think critically, use logic and reason, or problem solve. And because his father wasn't active in his life to teach him what he needed to know, what happened was, this is where he looked for substitutes in the secret world with these mass shooters, these serial killers, and these horror movie characters like Leatherface to be his substitute models for masculinity. And as he looked at the substitute male models for masculinity, this put him on the road to becoming a man in crisis. And this boy basically wound up on this road to becoming a man in crisis, who, after dealing with all of the bullying, decided that he was going to make a mark in infamy by participating in this mass shooting at the return of the winter recess. What he wanted to do with this event is what many mass shooters want to do. What they want to do is punish those who bullied them, punish who harassed them, and go out in infamy, because many of these males feel like they have no hope whatsoever in life, and they believe the only way to make a mark in this world is through an infamous event such as a mass shooting. And the reason for them, again, participating in these mass shootings is their frustration about not being able to make life in the world work. And that's basically what motivated Dylan Butler to participate in this shooting. And when I look at this whole case, it's extremely troubling because it shows me a disturbing trend with the ongoing man crisis in this country that shows me how things are getting progressively worse because we are seeing the age of these shooters get much younger, and we're seeing many of these shooters going from being in their 30s, 40s, and 50s to going to be in their late teens and early 20s at this point. And that shows me we have a serious problem with the way we are parenting children and a serious problem with the way we are raising boys to become men. Because it's clear to me that because Dylan Butler was not parented by his parents, what happened with him was he didn't know how to do basic things for himself, such as being able to think critically, be able to conflict resolve, or set boundaries. This is basic male life skills a boy has to learn, and if he doesn't learn those skills, what will happen to him is he's not going to be able to function in the world of men and women, and he won't be able to navigate life as a man because these are the things you have to learn during early adolescence. Now, I myself was bullied as a boy starting at 12 years old, and the main reason why I got bullied again is because I didn't learn basic life skills early on about being able to socialize in environments because I grew up in a strict Christian household. And because I grew up in a strict Christian household, I didn't understand that when you go out into social situations, you have to understand how to set boundaries for yourself, and you have to be able to let people know where the line is with you. And this is something that a lot of kids don't get these days, which is leading to them becoming frustrated, is not knowing how to set those boundaries. One, to let people know you are not going to disrespect me, and you're not going to go out here and talk to me in a certain way, or to see when somebody is actually disrespecting you and take your respect by either walking away from that individual or checking that individual to let them know where the line is. This is the first part of conflict resolution that a lot of guys don't get these days, and they don't get it, and they become frustrated because they're getting all of this disrespect and they're not knowing where to set the line. And because they don't know how to take their personal power, what these individuals do is they become frustrated, and this is something that they just seethe with anger about. And sadly, because there's no father there to teach him how to stand up for himself like a man, many of these boys, what they do is they are trying to figure stuff out, but they don't know how to figure anything out. And as they don't know how to figure out how to take their power, they get no real support from their parents. One, two, they don't get support from faculties in schools, because a lot of times in adolescence, people become very apathetic to tweens and teens, and they put distance between themselves and the tween and the teen, not understanding this is the time that this young person really needs guidance on how to socialize in the real world, and are looking for someone to show them how to make life work in the world. This is something a lot of young kids don't get in today's age, and this is why you've got these kids getting younger and younger and thinking about participating in mass shootings, because they believe that this is the way they get power, but this is not how you get power. This is actually how you give power back to those individuals by shooting at them and looking to destroy their lives, instead of looking to take your power by walking away from these individuals after you have asserted yourself, because your respect is one of the most important intangibles of manhood or womanhood. But sadly, because there is no father there to give this boy guidance, or there's a beta male who doesn't understand how to give the boy guidance on taking his respect, this boy feels powerless. And because he feels powerless and emasculated by these individuals who have humiliated him, he doesn't know how to take back his dignity or his respect. And this basically leads to this boy seething in anger in private, and then going to the secret world to admire sociopaths and psychopaths who have gone to participate in extreme violence to do harm to people, because they felt like this was their way of getting power, but they don't understand how to take their personal power as a boy to lead to a successful road to manhood. This was a hard lesson I had to learn back when I was 15 and 16 years old, and after having to deal with bullies for many years, I went to the Most High God and asked him to change my life. And after he made efforts to facilitate those changes, I began to understand that I needed to take my personal power, and I needed to understand that taking my personal power meant setting boundaries with people, and it meant that I needed to understand how to deal with individuals in social situations. And sadly, this isn't the lesson that this young man learned at all, because Dylan Butler didn't have a father to give him guidance. He didn't have a mother to teach him basic social skills. He didn't have a father to teach him male life skills or male survival skills. And he didn't have anybody there to give him guidance. And that's what I'm seeing happening to a lot of these younger mass shooters that nobody in the mainstream media wants to talk about, because most of the folks in the mainstream media, what they want to do is deflect and say that this is a gun issue. However, it is not a gun issue, because a lot of times, like this case, possibly these guns were in his home legally, or he was able to get them from a family member, because as a minor he couldn't purchase these guns at 17 years old. But I believe the reason why he was going to get those guns is because he was not raised in a functional way to be able to socialize or be able to read social situations or set boundaries in social situations. And because he was frustrated about his life, he wanted to destroy the lives of others for making his life miserable, and he wanted to make other people suffer for making him suffer. And what's sad here is that he made an innocent 11-year-old boy suffer for all of the frustrations he had with other people who hadn't come to school yet, because it was really early. And thank God that those kids were not there and other people were not there to suffer as related to this violence. And sadly, 4 other innocent kids who possibly had nothing to do with any of the things he was going through wound up getting shot, and a principal wound up getting shot in this whole situation. But this whole situation is another disturbing turn in this man crisis that gets progressively worse with every passing year. And we are now not only seeing an increase in frequency of these mass shootings, we are seeing the ages of these shooters getting younger and younger, and that should trouble most Americans. Unfortunately, America does not want to acknowledge the man crisis in this country, because America does not want to upset its biggest consumer, which is the American mother. Now, most of big business and government doesn't want to upset these mothers who have been indoctrinated over feminism in the last 60 years to believe they could raise a boy to be a man all by themselves. Moreover, they were socially engineering this kinder, gentler, softer male who they thought would be a better man. Unfortunately, these males do not know how to function in life, and we're seeing these males malfunctioning and short-circuiting all over this world at a higher rate of frequency, to the point where they're winding up showing how defective and dysfunctional they are. But our government can't do a recall on these men like we would with a defective Ford F-150 or Chevrolet Citation to get them fixed. No, we don't really even want to acknowledge that these boys need help, and these boys need an investment in them that will show them a positive example of manhood and masculinity. Unfortunately, in our gynocentric and feminist society, we have talked about how these boys don't need our help, but it's clear to me from seeing these shooters get younger, these boys really need an investment in them to show them how to have a sense of purpose. Moreover, we really need things to show them models of manhood and masculinity and a way to navigate life in this world, because it's clear the way feminists thought we could raise boys with a woman is not working for these boys as they're growing up to become men. And as these boys grow up under the authority of women, they're growing up to become men in crisis, and these men in crisis are just falling completely apart. And as they enter into adolescence, like Dylan Butler did, these quiet kids are suffering in silence because they don't have actual masculine men to show them examples of actual ways to function in the world, or to understand that the world is completely different for a man than it is for a woman, and that the way a man works in the world and functions in the world is completely different than a woman does. This is what is leading to all of these shootings going on, but you'll have politicians go out here and use the excuse that it's all about gun control. No, it's not about guns at all. It's about these boys are being raised to become men, and being raised without fathers or a brotherhood of men to teach them basic things like conflict resolution, problem solving, critical thinking, the ability to use logic and reason. These are things that the boys aren't getting, and they're not being taught to, again, set boundaries for people. This is why many of these boys like this, when they get bullied, believe the only way to take their power is through extreme violence. But you don't need to take your power through extreme violence. No, what you have to learn how to do is look a dude dead in the eye, like I'm looking at you right now, and let them know where the line is, and check them right there, and let them know that they're acting in a disrespectful manner. This is how you deal with an individual, but these young men aren't being taught this, and this is what's leading to the further escalation of a man crisis that the country continues to deny. And as they continue to deny it and continue to have these vigils as related to these shootings, we're not really dealing with the real issue that's leading to these shootings, the complete collapse and implosion of the American family due to 60 years of feminism, 60 years of socially engineering kinder, gentler, softer males, with each passing generation, without guidance from a parent, grow up to become boys who become men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what's leading to this whole dysfunctional paradigm that's turning teenagers into mass shooters and leading to them winding on a dysfunctional road to looking to destroy people's lives instead of looking to focus on their futures, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you would like to see me make more videos like this about men in crisis, because this video will not be monetized because it's talking about minors, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box so I can continue making more videos to help people understand how dire this man crisis is. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose on Amazon.com today. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes Illuminati on Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.